Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something real today. You've been hurt, betrayed, lied to, disrespected. Maybe it was someone close, someone you trusted, and they left you wounded in silence. And now you're sitting there wondering, do they even care? Will they ever be held accountable? Will justice ever come? And here's the truth, God is already dealing with them, even if you can't see it yet. Even if it's not loud, even if they look like they're thriving, trust me, He doesn't miss a thing. We live in a world that celebrates instant results, instant karma, instant success, instant closure. But God doesn't work like that. His justice is often quiet, but it's strategic. He's not just reacting, He's moving, He's aligning things. And if you're feeling discouraged, if you're tempted to take matters into your own hands, I want to give you 5 powerful signs that God is already handling it, so you can finally let go and move forward. Sign number 1, their access to you has been cut off. That friend who ghosted you, that partner who mistreated you, that co-worker who sabotaged you, suddenly they're gone, they don't call, they don't show up. And you wonder, why did they leave me like that? Why didn't I get closure? Here's the thing, God removed them before they could do more damage. You don't need their closure, you need His covering. Sometimes the absence of a person is the presence of protection. Their exit was divine intervention. It may have hurt, but it was holy, because God will always disrupt what threatens your destiny. Sign number 2, what they meant for harm is fueling your growth. They tried to break you, but you got stronger. They tried to silence you, but now your voice is louder. They thought the betrayal would bury you, but it built you. Listen, what they did didn't stop you, it started you. That pain, that rejection, that abandonment, it became the fire that lit your purpose. And that's how God deals with people. He doesn't just punish them, He promotes you. He turns every attack into acceleration. And when they see you rising, believe me, they'll know they lost access to something great. Sign number 3, they're being exposed without you lifting a finger. You didn't post about them, you didn't drag them, you didn't seek revenge, but somehow the truth is coming out. People are seeing them for who they are. Doors are closing for them. Relationships are falling apart. And it's not because you did anything, it's because God is your defender. He said, "Vengeance is mine." That means you don't have to chase justice because it's already chasing them. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom, and God honored that. When you stay in alignment, He handles the assignment. Sign number 4, you've been strangely at peace, even though they hurt you, even though it wasn't fair. Even though you didn't get the apology, you've been waking up lighter, breathing deeper, healing faster. You know what that is. That's supernatural peace, and it only comes when God is working behind the scenes. Because you can't fake peace, you can't force it. Peace that doesn't make sense is proof that heaven is involved. And when God gives you that kind of peace, it means He's already dealt with the storm that came to destroy you. Sign number 5, new blessings are showing up where betrayal used to live. You lost people, but you gained clarity. You walked away from pain, but you walked into purpose. Doors are opening, favor is increasing. And now, you're starting to realize what they took from you is nothing compared to what God is about to give you. See, when God restores, He doesn't just bring it back the same, He brings it back better. He replaces the betrayal with belonging, the loss with love, the pain with power. And when the enemy sees you thriving not in spite of what happened, but because of what happened, he knows he lost. So no, you don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to get even. Just keep choosing peace. Keep choosing healing. Keep choosing to rise. Because God is not just dealing with those who hurt you. He's preparing a table for you right in front of them. And the best part, you won't even need a seat for them. Because by the time your blessing shows up, you'll be too focused on your future to look back at what broke you. Choose peace, choose healing. And above all, choose you every single time. When someone hurts you and walks away as if nothing happened, it can feel like the world just stood still for a second. You replay the moment, the words. The betrayal, the silence that followed, and it cuts deeper because you wonder if anyone even noticed. You ask yourself, asterisk, does God see this? Asterisk, and the answer is yes, He does. He sees asterisk everything. Asterisk, God doesn't miss what people hide. The whispers behind closed doors, the lies masked as jokes, the actions that happen in the shadows, He's not blind to any of it. Sometimes we mistake silence for absence. We think because there's no immediate consequence, no dramatic exposure, no divine thunderbolt from the sky, that God must be unaware. But what we call delay, God calls design. He doesn't react in our timing because He operates in eternity. His justice isn't for show, it's for truth. And the truth is, when someone has wronged you, God doesn't look the other way. He watches, He weighs, He waits, not out of passivity, but out of precision. We live in a culture that wants karma to come overnight. We want people to feel what they made us feel, but God's justice isn't driven by emotion. It's driven by purpose. He doesn't just want to balance the scales, He wants to heal you, and also give the person who hurt you a chance to transform. That's what makes His response so different from ours. Where we want revenge, God desires redemption. But make no mistake, if someone refuses to change, refuses to own what they did, refuses to soften their heart, God doesn't let that slide. He is a God of mercy, yes, but He is also a God of justice. And what you have to understand is that His justice often starts with removal. He doesn't always punish publicly. He protects quietly. Sometimes the greatest proof that God saw the injustice is that He removed their access to you. They don't get to keep you in their life after they abused your loyalty. They don't get to enjoy your presence while bringing you pain. God shuts doors we're too afraid to close ourselves. That's not rejection, it's rescue. You might be mourning the loss of someone right now, not realizing that the separation was divine. You think you were abandoned when really you were shielded. That relationship, that friendship, that job, it wasn't stripped from you. It was stripped asterisk for asterisk you, because what you couldn't see was the long-term damage it would have done if it stayed. So God allowed the breakup, the fallout, the betrayal, not because He was punishing you, but because He was preserving you. And you know what else? He saw the manipulation. He saw the moments they twisted your words, played the victim, made you doubt your own perception. That gaslighting you endured didn't go unnoticed in heaven. God keeps the receipts, not because He wants to embarrass them, but because He wants to vindicate you. And that vindication may not come in front of crowds. It may not show up in some grand reveal, but it will come in peace, in clarity, in freedom, in the way He begins to elevate you while removing you from that toxic orbit. Sometimes the greatest evidence that God is handling it is the asterisk silence asterisk. It's the blocked path, the unanswered call, the disconnection, and while you may grieve it, you'll also grow from it. God isn't interested in punishing your enemies in the way you are. He's interested in pulling you into a future where those enemies have no power. He doesn't just want to balance the score, He wants to rewrite your story without them in the next chapter. You may be thinking, asterisk, but they're out there living like nothing happened. Asterisk, they might be. For now, but you don't know what's happening in their spirit. You don't know what they're losing behind the scenes. You don't know the restless nights, the withering confidence, the opportunities drying up because of their own internal rot. See, God doesn't have to take them down publicly to deal with them completely. Sometimes the worst judgment is invisible. It's when someone keeps everything on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. That's not your job to enforce, that's God's job to handle. So what do you do while God is working? You heal, you grow, you stop watching their story and start writing your own. You take your hands off the wheel of revenge and put them on the wheel of your life. You trust that if God let them hurt you, He also has a plan to use it not to define you, but to develop you, And one day, without needing an apology or an explanation, you'll look back and say, asterisk, thank God you saw what I couldn't. Thank God you stepped in. Thank God you were dealing with it, even when I couldn't see it. Asterisk, because he still is, and he always will be. There is a moment after betrayal, after the heartbreak, after someone wounds you deeply, where everything goes still. Not on the outside the world keeps spinning, but inside. You're stuck in a silence that screams, wondering if justice will ever speak up on your behalf. And in that pause, it feels like nothing is happening. No closure, no apology, no explanation, just emptiness. But here's the truth you need to remember. Just because it feels silent doesn't mean God isn't moving. Silence is not the absence of justice, it's the setup for it. You may not hear thunder, you may not see lightning, but the very moment someone harmed you with words, actions, neglect, manipulation, asterisk, something in the spiritual realm shifted. Asterisk, God is not indifferent to your pain. He doesn't wait for a crowd to validate what you experienced. He doesn't need a jury to confirm that you were wronged. The moment it happened, he saw it, and while the world moved on, asterisk, God went to work, asterisk. God's version of justice isn't always loud. It's not always the confrontation we crave. Sometimes it's slow, strategic, unfolding behind the curtain. You see, the very reason it feels like nothing is happening is because God is working in a place your eyes can't see. He's arranging conversations, shifting atmospheres, closing doors that were opened by manipulation, opening doors for your healing, and bringing clarity to your confusion. That's not inactivity, that's divine activity. And just because the person who hurt you seems to be thriving doesn't mean God isn't dealing with them. Don't confuse movement with momentum. They might look like they're winning, but the battle belongs to the Lord and He doesn't lose. There's a reason you didn't get the last word. There's a reason you didn't get to fight back. God wasn't silencing you, He was protecting you from sinking to their level. There are times when the most powerful thing you can do is asterisk, not respond, asterisk. Not clap back, not clear your name, because God was already responding on your behalf. He's not just dealing with the situation, He's preserving your purpose. And He knows that retaliation would only drag you down to the battlefield when you were meant for victory. Sometimes the silence is necessary to protect the process. If you knew everything God was doing behind the scenes, you'd try to control it. You'd rush it, you'd interfere, but God works best in the quiet. In the stillness, in the sacred in-between where trust is built. It's in that silence where your faith gets strong, your roots grow deep, and your healing begins to bloom. Silence is not a punishment. It's preparation, and God is not ignoring you, He's strengthening you so that when justice finally arrives, you're too elevated to be petty. One of the hardest truths you'll ever have to sit with is this. Asterisk, God is not obligated to give you justice in the way you imagined. Asterisk, you may never get the apology, you may never get the confession, you may never get the validation you think you need. But guess what? You will get peace, you will get growth, you will get joy again, because God's justice isn't about making them pay, it's about making you whole. You're not just being pulled out of something painful, you're being pulled into something purposeful. And that can only happen when you stop watching their life and start rebuilding yours. God is a God of restoration, and that means He not only repairs the damage done, He improves what was broken. He doesn't just restore what was lost, He restores asterisk, you asterisk. Your voice, your value, your identity, all those pieces you thought were stolen by someone else's actions, He gives them back, piece by piece, day by day, sometimes quietly, but always completely. You don't have to wait for justice to move on. You don't need closure from the person who hurt you to start healing. The proof that God is already dealing with it is in the fact that you're still standing, you're still breathing, you're still waking up every morning, trying again, refusing to become bitter. That kind of strength doesn't come from you, it comes from God. That's divine evidence that even in the silence, you're being protected, covered, fought for. They thought they got away with it. They thought the silence meant they won. But they didn't know that heaven was taking notes, that justice was already in motion, that peace was being prepared for your arrival, and that one day, without a word, your life would speak louder than their lies. You're not forgotten, you're not overlooked, and you're definitely not finished, so don't let the silence convince you that nothing's happening. Don't let the lack of noise fool you into thinking that the pain was pointless. Asterisk, asterisk, God is moving. Asterisk, asterisk, even now, even in the stillness, even when you can't see it. And the day will come when you'll look back on this silent season and realize it was never empty, it was sacred. It was holy ground where healing began, justice was born, and your soul was reclaimed. It's one of the hardest things to understand when you're hurting. Why would God remove someone you loved? Why would He allow someone you trusted to turn their back on you? Why didn't He step in and stop it before it all went wrong? But here's the truth, sometimes the very act of protection looks like asterisk, asterisk, removal, asterisk, asterisk. Sometimes God doesn't just save you from danger, He saves you from asterisk, what would have destroyed your purpose asterisk if it had stayed in your life any longer. That person, that relationship, that situation, it felt good, it felt familiar, but God saw beyond what you could see. You looked at their potential, but God saw their patterns. You were attached to their presence, but God saw their poison. We get caught up in the idea that if someone leaves, it must mean we weren't enough, that if they betrayed us, maybe we deserved it, that if they stopped showing up, maybe we weren't worth staying for. But what if their eggs, it wasn't a reflection of your worth, but a confirmation of your calling? What if God let them go because their influence over your life was starting to outweigh His voice in your heart? See, the enemy doesn't always show up as a threat. Sometimes he shows up as comfort, familiarity, consistency, but just because something feels safe doesn't mean it's aligned with your future. God doesn't just protect you from pain, He protects you from what could pull you off your path. And when He removes someone, especially someone who asterisk hurt asterisk you, it's not always because He's punishing them, it's because He's prioritizing asterisk you asterisk, your peace, your destiny, your purpose. There are people who were never meant to go with you into the next season of your life. Not because they're evil, not because they were always against you, but because their presence would have delayed your development, because God knows how easily your heart loves, how much you give, how much you want to fix what's broken. And He also knows that if He left it up to you, you'd hold on, you'd compromise, you'd keep watering dead plants. So sometimes He steps in, not to break your heart, but to asterisk save asterisk it. That's what divine removal looks like. It's painful, it's confusing, and yes, at first it feels unfair. You'll sit in the silence wondering what went wrong. You'll cry over memories, replay moments, crave closure, but then, slowly something shifts. You start sleeping better, you start breathing deeper, you start rediscovering who you are without the weight of trying to be enough for someone who never saw your value. That clarity, that healing, that's not an accident. That's God working. That's proof that their absence is making room for your wholeness, because there are people who will distract you from who you were created to become. People who will draw your energy, drain your spirit, and distort your identity, not always out of malice, but out of misalignment, and God loves you too much to let that continue, so He closes the door. He shuts it tight, and though it hurts, it's holy. Here's what most people miss. Asterisk, asterisk, God doesn't just subtract to punish, He subtracts to prepare. Asterisk, asterisk, He takes away what's misaligned so He can make space for what's divine. That means the people He removes aren't just being pulled out, they're being replaced with better, healthier relationships, clearer purpose, deeper peace. And once the dust settles, you realize the only reason you clung so hard to what was hurting you is because you didn't know what healing could feel like. You may be angry, you may be grieving, you may still want answers. But eventually, you'll see it. God wasn't just protecting your heart, He was protecting your identity, because some relationships don't just wound you, they warp you. They confuse you about who you are. They make you shrink, apologize for your light, doubt your worth. And when that happens, God doesn't always wait for you to wake up sometimes. He pulls you out before you can lose yourself completely. That's not abandonment, that's mercy, that's grace, that's God stepping in when your love for them was starting to cost you your love for yourself. And when you see it through that lens, their departure doesn't feel like rejection, it feels like rescue. It feels like God showing up, saying, "You don't see it yet, but I've got something so much better. You just need space to receive it." So the next time someone walks away, betrays you, or disappears after hurting you, don't automatically assume you were left behind. Consider the possibility that you were carried forward. You didn't lose them, you were loosed from them, and in that release you'll find peace, clarity, and strength. Because God didn't remove them to punish them, He removed them to protect the greatness He's placed inside you. There comes a moment in every journey of healing when you realize that the people who hurt you are no longer just a part of your story, they're a catalyst for your growth. And while it might seem unfair that they get to walk away while you're left picking up the emotional pieces, don't miss this. God never wastes pain. When someone wounds you and walks away, it might feel like they've escaped accountability. But God is always at work, and one of the most powerful ways He deals with those who hurt you is by transforming you through it. They don't get the last word, growth does. You might not see the justice right away. You might not get a front row seat to their consequences. But what you will get is transformation. That's how God works. He takes what was meant to break you and uses it to build you. He takes the betrayal and turns it into boundaries. He takes the heartbreak and turns it into discernment. He takes the disappointment and turns it into strength. And while you're healing, it may not feel like justice, but it's better. It's redemption. Sometimes the most undeniable proof that God is dealing with the people who hurt you is that you are no longer the same. You're stronger, wiser, calmer, less reactive. You stop needing validation from those who dismissed you. You stop chasing closure from people who can't even be honest with themselves. You stop accepting less than you deserve just to avoid being alone. That's growth. That's evidence of God's hand in your healing. And here's the part that most people miss your healing is their exposure You don't have to shout from the rooftops about what they did. You don't have to plead your case. You don't have to correct every false narrative. When God begins to elevate you, restore you, and heal you, your life becomes a living testimony, and as you rise, the lies crumble. The truth doesn't need defending, it just needs time because the same people who tried to minimize you will eventually have to witness how God magnifies you. That doesn't mean your growth makes what they did okay. It doesn't mean you excuse the pain or pretend it didn't matter. It means you refuse to let it define you. When God is working in you, He's not just patching up the wounds. He's using them as tools to rebuild you stronger, clearer, and more grounded than you've ever been. That's the kind of justice the world can't always see, but heaven celebrates it. Let's be honest, growth doesn't come without resistance. Healing doesn't happen in comfort, so if you're hurting right now, if you're still trying to make sense of what happened, it doesn't mean you're stuck, it means you're in progress. The same God who allowed the pain is the same God who promises to turn it for good. That doesn't always mean it'll feel good, but it does mean that your pain has a purpose, And part of that purpose is making sure you never allow someone to have that kind of power over your peace again. The more you grow, the more you'll look back and realize that what they did was wrong, but what God did with it was asterisk right. Asterisk, you'll stop waiting for apologies. You'll stop rehearsing the past, because healing gives you a new appetite. You'll crave peace more than revenge. You'll want your future more than you want closure. You'll become so aligned with who God is calling you to be that you'll thank Him for removing anyone who wasn't capable of going with you. That's the justice you didn't expect. That's the divine reversal. The ones who tried to damage you become footnotes in the story of your deliverance. They weren't sent to defeat you, they were used to develop you. And that development is the real win. Not what happens to them, but what happens in you. What used to trigger you doesn't anymore. What used to define you no longer fits. You're evolving, and that evolution is the loudest response you'll ever need. And don't be surprised if, as you grow, God starts to use your voice to help others through the same kind of pain. Your scars will speak. Your experience will empower. You'll comfort people with the same comfort God gave you. That's how the story flips. That's how justice comes full circle, not by watching them fall, but by watching you rise. So the next time you wonder if God is dealing with those who hurt you, stop looking at their life and start looking at yours. Look at the peace you never thought you'd feel again. Look at the boundaries you've finally built. Look at the confidence growing where shame once lived. That's not just progress, that's proof. That's God doing what only He can do. Turning your pain into purpose, turning your grief into growth, turning your wounds into wisdom, because when you rise, you don't just survive what they did, you overcome it. And that's a kind of justice that no apology could ever match. There's a specific kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to make sense of why someone hurt you and start trusting that God sees what you don't. You may not know all the reasons, all the details, or all the behind the scenes motives, but you can rest in one unshakable truth, God is not mocked. He doesn't miss a single word spoken in secret. He doesn't overlook manipulation, deception, or betrayal. And in His timing, not yours, the truth always rises. Always. We live in a world where people can create illusions with their words and actions, where wrongdoers can seem to get away with cruelty, and those they hurt are left to carry the burden silently. But God doesn't play by human timelines. His justice isn't performed for social media. It's not rushed. It's not theatrical, but it is thorough. And when He starts to reveal the truth, it doesn't come in whispers, it comes in clarity so sharp that even the ones who denied it will be forced to see it. You may feel like your name was dragged through the mud. You may have been painted as the villain by someone who hurt you and then twisted the narrative to save face. But the truth doesn't stay buried forever. And while it may seem like the person who wronged you is prospering, remember this. God doesn't just expose lies, He reveals hearts. That means He lets people reveal themselves over time. And when they do, no amount of charm, influence, or deception can cover the cracks. What you have to understand is that when God is working, He often allows a season of silence, not to delay justice, but to develop discernment in you. If He exposed everything too early, you might miss the deeper lesson. You might think it was just about that one incident, that one betrayal, that one person, but God is often doing a much deeper work. He's showing you patterns, teaching you how to listen to red flags instead of repainting them, showing you how to guard your heart without hardening it. And while you're healing, while you're growing, while you're doing the internal work to move forward, God is working behind the scenes. He's uncovering truth in places you weren't even aware were being watched. He's aligning people who once doubted you to now recognize your integrity. He's letting the actions of those who hurt you speak louder than any defense you could give. Because asterisk asterisk, you don't have to expose anyone when God is already doing it. Asterisk asterisk, letting go of the need to control the narrative is one of the hardest parts of healing. You want people to know what really happened. You want your side of the story told. But what if your piece is the only story that needs to be heard? What if the very fact that you're healing, elevating, and refusing to stay stuck in bitterness is the loudest evidence that you were never the problem? God's exposure isn't just for others to see, it's for asterisk you asterisk to understand. Sometimes he reveals the truth not to shame someone else, but to asterisk asterisk set you free asterisk asterisk, free from confusion, free from denial, free from the illusion of what you hoped that person would be. Because the truth, as painful as it can be, is a kind of freedom that allows you to move forward without looking back. And when the exposure finally happens, when people start to see what you saw all along, you won't even need to say, "I told you so." You'll be too far ahead, too focused on what's next, too full of grace and gratitude that you're no longer in the place where you had to question your worth because of someone else's wounds. That's what God's justice does. It doesn't just reveal what was hidden, it asterisk asterisk redeems asterisk asterisk what was damaged. Your name, your confidence, your clarity, and most of all, your purpose, because the people who hurt you may have tried to define you in your weakest moment, but God will asterisk asterisk refine asterisk asterisk you through the fire and bring you out stronger than ever. There's a day coming when you won't flinch when their name is mentioned, when you won't feel the need to defend yourself, when peace will settle so deeply in your spirit that you'll smile not because they suffered, but because asterisk you're free. Asterisk, that's not just healing. That's restoration, that's justice, and here's the beautiful part. God doesn't just expose the truth to bring justice for you, he does it to asterisk asterisk warn others asterisk asterisk, to break cycles, to stop the harm from spreading. Your experience becomes a light in the dark, a signal that says, I walked through this and I came out whole, so can you. So if you're still in the middle of the pain, still wrestling with the injustice, still wondering when the truth will come to light, hold on. Trust the process, keep healing, because exposure is not just about them being seen, it's about asterisk, you being released asterisk. And when God reveals the truth, he doesn't just bring clarity, he brings closure. And that kind of closure is sacred. It can't be taken, it can't be argued, and it can't be silenced.